Hey everybody, it's the Mad Master here. I'm doing one more video today, which I didn't exactly think I was going to do, but I decided to do it. So I was watching a conspiracy video about the virus. Um, and, well, I got a Roxy Talks responded to me. That's awesome. I'm just getting responded by all my favorite channels lately. I'm getting responses from Lada, uh, Dinsheva, and Roxy Talks, which is probably her reception person that runs her channel. But kind of cool, anyways. Never mind about that. I'm blushing. I was kidding. No, I'm just talking about the my YouTube comments are getting responded to here and there, so maybe that helps my algorithms. I have no idea. So, anyways, this video is about which narrative do you follow? Which narrative should you follow? Should you follow the virus narrative? You know, that this is a unprecedented virus that killed many people. The only way to fight it is social distance and lockdown, blah, blah, blah. Vaccine eventually, but even then, still wear a mask during flu season. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Or do you follow the other side? New World Order, blah, 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 nanobot, 5G, Great Reset, blah, 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 blah. The conspiracy narrative, in other words. Which one do you follow? Well, the fact of the matter is that both are based on fear. Let's just break it down here. Both are based on fear. Exploring some of these things like what Gordon White talks about, even though he's kind of more in the conspiracy camp. Or, what he's talking about on some of his podcasts, or what these manifestation coaches say, or, what these, kind of new age gurus say. We know that fear leads to despair and more fear, right? And even in David Icke's damn books, towards the end of the book, he always does this thing like, oh, we have to have this mass consciousness, blah, blah, blah. Because originally he was like a new age guy before he became a conspiracy guy. He was a member of the Green Party. He's obsessed with green, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Had his turquoise period that he talks about. And he loves wearing green. And reptilians are green. What is it with David Icke and green? The color green. The turquoise period. This fucking was really bizarre shit. Anyways, so we have to take both sides with a grain of salt. I mean, I don't want a great reset, and I don't want some kind of authoritarian, system where mandatory vaccines are there, or passes, travel passes, or, more lockdowns and all this shit. At the same time, I hope the virus dissipates, and I hope things go better with it. I do not want to see this virus. I hope cases do go down. If they do, I don't know. The second wave has been talked about since the beginning, but I don't like either narrative as far as the future goes, because we have to break out of this fear, the fear consciousness. We have to be aware of it. This is kind of a concept in reality transurfing. I talk about epidemics. You have to be aware of it, but don't give all your power to it. Be aware of it. Have it not in the back of your mind, but just pretty much at the back of your mind. Just live your life in spite of it, but don't give it too much power. But don't totally ignore it. That's a really not bad. That's a really hard balancing act to have towards things. It's really difficult. But the fact of the matter is, what else we're going to do with regards to things? I think both, there's nefarious people on both ends. We could talk about Alex Jones. I'm quite entertained when Alex Jones is on Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan kind of is the great equalizer for Alex Jones. He kind of, you know, kind of tempers Alex Jones, and Alex Jones becomes more like the old school Alex Jones when he's on there, honestly, which I did like to some extent. But Alex Jones is a grifter, you know, whether he likes it or not. It's like Pat Robertson, you know, is a grifter. He may probably believes in a lot of the stuff he talks about, but at the same time, he's making money and he has a agenda to push. And same with all these conspiracy people on these channels. They live on fear, fear. All these people. David Icke wouldn't have a career without being talking about all these grand conspiracies that are going on. And that's one of my theories about Alex Jones, is that at some point, you know, say about 2010 to 2013, he ran out of juice. So he kind of went more, you know, he got soft on the neocons after that, went more and more, you know, grandiose into these things, got into the Sandy Hook thing, that kind of lost, you know, a lot of his credibility. Like the Melissa and Aaron Dykes True Stream Media, I think they still have integrity, and James Corbett to a certain extent does too. But when you're dealing with these things, these people, they're, whether they like it or not, that's what they're living on, is these fear narratives, these fear agendas. Things aren't so simple in the world or society. This is kind of an anti-conspiracy theory video in a way, but like, people are complex and complicated. They have different shifting narratives and shifting ideas and ideals. So to say that, to not include conspiracy theorists in the idea that people are pushing a fear narrative would be gloriously naive. People that talk about conspiracies and talk about all these fearful things that could happen are part of the, or in some ways are part of the problem. Now, I believe they contribute some things to the discourse, because it's almost like and one person talked about not Alex Jones but David Icke as possibly being Swiftian, like Thomas, I think it's Thomas Swift, Swiftian satire. You know, he believes it might be satirical among the, you know, to satirize the powers that be, and it's all this big ruse, which I don't know if I believe it or not. But even if it's not, if it serves that purpose, I think that might be a good thing. You know, lampoon these people as much as possible. If they even, it's kind of like what I think is like with conspiracy theories. It's better in a way. It's, we have to question their narratives. We have to take it with a huge pound of salt, and we have to not buy into the fear of it, which is very hard, of course, right now, especially. But I do believe they serve a purpose, because you can look at the top, the people in power, and you can, you know, call them out, and they have to watch. It's kind of like policing the elite. It's like, if they do try some crazy shit, some of it might be some of it might be, a lot of it might be bullshit that conspiracy theorists are talking about, but the fact that they're there is kind of like a leverage. It's like leverage or a check and balance for the power elite, because it's like, well, if we do this, even if their motivations of doing these things are not as nefarious or are way more complicated than the conspiracy theorists presume, it's still good to have the conspiracy theorists there to be a check and balance against the elite. That said, they are still part of the fear narrative, just as much as CNN is a part of the fear narrative as well. You have these two forces fighting for power over the fear narrative. You know, we're all going to live under this totalitarian China-like system of social credits and the Great Reset and all this stuff. That's one of the narratives or beliefs. The other narrative, and vaccines will be toxic and sterilize. See, you know, my thing is like, it might sterilize people. That would be a surprise. No surprise. as far as the conspiracy narrative goes. The other narrative is that there's, the virus is deadly. We have to, we're all going to be okay once we get the vaccine and we're going to go back to normal, blah, blah, blah. These conspiracy theorists are crazy, but the virus is deadly and it's going to kill so many more people. And we got to be careful and protect those poor, vulnerable people, blah, 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 blah. And these evil asymptomatic carriers are the threat to humanity and blah, 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 blah. So we have these two narratives vying for domination in the discourse. And I would say reject, to some extent, reject both, but keep in mind both, it sounds like fence sitting, but it's really not. It's more, we have to watch out. We have to be skeptical. It's about being skeptical. We could be skeptical about both sides because both sides do want to make money. Both sides do want to control the narrative of their narrative, and both sides wants people to be afraid, period. You can't watch a conspiracy theory and not just think, oh my God, this is scary shit. They want people to be afraid. They are feeding off of fear as much as the doomsters, as Tom Woods calls them, do. They're feeding off of fear just as much, if not more, I mean, I couldn't have predicted there would be no second lockdowns or second lockdowns. Now, lockdowns in America right now aren't as stringent for the most part. It's, of course, in Madison, Wisconsin. It's still not as stringent. See, in Madison, Wisconsin, they didn't close all the businesses again during the second lockdown. They just say you can't have non-household people in your home. And that's being challenged, thank God, of course. And of course, on Facebook, I was reading some Facebook comments. I wasn't on Facebook. I was just on a page. They were talking of an article where there was Facebook comments. I'm trying to take another break from Facebook. It got bad again, I'm still going to be on there and posting music and stuff like that, but I'm not going to engage in the discourse. I'm going to withdraw my forces from that. So I was reading these Facebook comments about, oh my God, you're just a Trump supporter because you want civil liberties, my rights. What about grandma? I got sick. It's like just the same fucking bullshit as we have had this entire time, back and forth, and person saying, I will not comply, blah, blah, blah. I'm really getting sick of this shit. So, but yeah, the conspiracy culture is a pendulum. It's a pendulum, just like they talk about in reality transurfing. Reality transurfing could become a pendulum too. I mean, the guy said that in Vadim Zeland, his name is. He said it could become a pendulum as well, and it could. Some of that stuff, and what a pendulum is, it's like a tulpa. If you read about that, that's more mystical version of it. It's like this thought construction becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and people are in line to be part of it. And it's kind of hard to explain unless you read that book. If you look into tulpas, it's kind of the same thing. So yeah, conspiracy theories are pendulums. Conspiracy culture is a pendulum. It is a construction of people's fears, which automatically makes it suspect in a way. So I don't want to comply to either one. I don't want to comply to, not seeing my friends for a year before they get vaccinated or whatever, because that's not going to happen. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to comply to the other side too, of being scared of the Great Reset and stuff. I might read the Great Reset. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some stuff that makes sense. Now, a lot of it is bullshit too, of course. Like, I'm just saying, parts of it I might agree with, like some of the environmental stuff. Well, maybe we got to do this, blah, blah, blah. Of course, for the most part, the dehumanization of the book that the book implies, because I was reading some quotes from it, is absolute bullshit. It needs to be violently resisted if it is implemented. Because, like, they're talking about, I don't know if they're trying to predict things or if they're just saying they want these things. That's where the confusion comes in. Are these people trying to predict things? like they said, oh, human interaction won't be as popular in the future. It's like because of this virus. Come on, that's fucking stupid. As I've said time and time again, that's stupid. That is fear mongering. Whether or not it's for some purpose, I don't know. But my whole point is that fuck the Great Reset either way. But like I said, I want to have a more nuanced position on it rather than saying it's that bunch of evil communists. QAnon talked about it. I think that's just as dumb as like the Great Reset itself. These simple-minded fucking simple-minded, very myopic ideas and beliefs are stupid. Whether it be the Great Reset or the anti-Great Reset. So whole point is that conspiracy culture is a fear narrative. It always has been, but of course it helps certain things along. I think it's just like I think it's a necessary evil, conspiracy culture, because it's always gonna scare people. It's always gonna make things worse in some ways, but it could maybe make people more hesitant to do certain things, I would say, because they're gonna call us this or that, and even if like I said, even if the motivations of the people doing these things aren't as evil as people say they are, they're gonna be perceived that way by conspiracy theorists. So, and I mean, another side effect of that, they could be more secretive about shit too, or more gradual, which is not good either, because gradualism could still lead to the stuff that they talk about. But if it slows shit down a little bit, like if the stuff is real, all these, not is, I didn't mean to say Israel, Israel. I'm gonna be called like an anti-Semite, or I'm gonna be like hailed by anti-Semites. He said Israel. That means he's against the Zionist conspiracy. I'm part Jewish, and I'm fucking, I actually got into it for a while, so any anti-Semites could fucking whatever. I'm not, I am what I am, so I can't help it, and I'm not a Zion, I don't believe in fucking Zionism or anything like that, but I'm just, actually, it's funny because my great-great-grandfather on the maternal side was a Zionist socialist. Ooh, maybe I'm part of the conspiracy then. Maybe I'm part of I'm a what do they call it? Gatekeeper or something with my videos, No, I just believe in questioning things and looking into things and shit. It's pretty simple. It's not that fucking complicated. Sometimes these, things are more complicated than you think, and things are more simple than you think. That's the problem with conspiracy culture. But as a check and balance, in general, I support conspiracy culture, but you got to take it with a grain or a pound or a ton of fucking salt, because you're going to get sucked in like I did, Talked about in my last video about I got severely depressed after May, June, because I was on this positive course with all these courses I was taking about manifestation and all these positive Neville Goddard and fucking, all these new things I was trying to get into. It's kind of cool that I have a comment from Roxy Talks, by the way. I responded to my video about take them off the pedestal and make them chase you. I said, great video, really hit the spot for me right now. I just slipped back into being depressed. I need to be reminded to put myself first. I'm so grateful for this channel. Well, it's true, So, yeah, positive thinking, like trying to manifest the best world for yourself possible. But, I mean, the positive thinking of the world hasn't helped me. Ugh. Well, isn't that kind of an ironic statement? When people are negative towards positive things, it's like, well, they're being negative, so they're not being positive. So it's kind of a fucking deadly circle of fucking bullshit. But yeah, I'm trying to think of more examples about the conspiracy culture being a grift and a con in some ways. I mean, everything is. It's like, I guess I would compare the conspiracy thing to pickup artists. This sounds really weird. I could go more into this too, because there is a certain archetype of people that are into a lot of these things, but that has nothing to do with what I'm saying right now. But, pickup artists have some good advice, right? Approach a lot of women, or email a lot of women, or whatever. It's a numbers game, blah, 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 blah. You gotta stand out from the crowd, whatever, blah, 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 right? Some of these general rules, which I didn't know before I read all this stuff. I didn't know. My brother, rest in peace, was the closest to anybody growing up that would give me some decent advice, and, he was kind of it wasn't a pickup artist, but he had a lot of that stuff nailed down as far as his ideas. And that's kind of why, in some ways, like I didn't really follow his ideas. I thought that, I thought he was a sexist, whatever pig, whatever my other family members would have told me maybe, or friends or whoever back in the day. I just had to clear up another, what is it called? Whatever it's called, a chat thing that I'm getting messages from. But yeah, the pickup artist thing, you can get these ideas from them, but never worship them as people, never idolize these people, never not question them too, because a lot of them are full of shit about a great many things, and they have nefarious intentions. They're cons and grifts just like everybody else. They may believe in their message too just as much, but they're making this money from it, so they have to perpetuate it. That's the whole point with these conspiracy theorists. They make money off of selling fear. So they have to keep the constant supply and constant things going forward. That's the whole problem with it. If one person, like let's say one person's like normally a science fiction, or not, that's not a good example. They're a fantasy writer, right? So they get a little political and they write a conspiracy book about some conspiracy they believe in, but normally they don't talk about that stuff. That's a little different than like a person's whole life. They write about conspiracy theories, they research them, they expose all these things that they say they need to be exposed. It becomes self-perpetuating. It's like the pickup artists, so the seduction community, it has to keep going. You have to have new clients. You have to have new things to talk about, new problems to bring up. Like, I remember being into it and like, all of a sudden, like, oh, we have to talk about natural game now, blah, blah, blah. Well, we have to talk about relationship game. We have to talk about text game. We have to talk this, and then they got all fucking, then now they're into red pill. Now they're into all this now they're even into little MGTOW stuff. The same person that was talking about this other shit 10 years ago has to talk about something else and sell their ebook and sell their products and sell their seminars and sell their conferences and sell their boot camps over and over again. It just becomes a self-perpetuating thing. Like Tyler Durden of Real Social Dynamics. It's like, well, now he has to talk about self-help because he can't talk about the pickup thing because some of his trainers got banned from some countries, which is bullshit, of course. It's like, at least like Ross Jeffries, one good thing about him is he just kind of talks about the same thing. He's one of the rare guys that usually talks about the same thing over and over again. He just makes no apologies for it. That's why I respect him a lot more. Is like he's not making as much money as these other guys, of course, but he's like, yeah, NLP, whatever, magic or whatever, So these guys are grifters, They have to make money. So Alex Jones has to talk about some new conspiracy. He has to talk about something else. He has to go, and a lot of it's true, of course. It's like you find these documents that say whatever, some of it's true. Some of it's kind of an exaggeration. Usually it's an exaggeration of a true thing that oversimplifies something that's complex. That's my point. So conspiracy theorists are grifters and they're fear merchants, just as much as these virus vaccine, pushers are as well. So find a way out. Find a way in the middle and out, just get the fuck out. Get your mind off of this shit in the best ways possible. Because it's probably not going to, if you really think about it, their worst fears are probably not going to happen. Because they usually don't, That said, who knows? I mean, I'm not saying none of this stuff's going to happen, but it's just we got to question conspiracy theorists just as much as the fear mongers about the virus. That's what I'm trying to say. And, there's grifters on both sides, of all sides of the debate. There's people trying to make money, trying to perpetuate something. That's what it's all about, you know. Have an objective mind. Don't get sucked into it too much. I got sucked in, yeah. I mean, got sucked in way too much in the last couple months. And I really shouldn't. I don't believe that everybody, honestly, that's pushing for all this stuff is part of some grand cabal. You know, Joe Parisi or whatever of Madison, Dane County Health. I don't think he's like, I mean, I started thinking about this today. Like, what would they have? Would they have something on them and tell them to do all this stuff? I mean, how big could this conspiracy be that they're pushing all this stuff? Conspiracies are not necessarily these people sitting in a room or threatening people to do this or that. Sometimes, you know, what they call conspiracies are just people that have a certain myopic ideological position that they're stuck in. Actually, Noam Chomsky talks about this a lot in his earlier books about linguistics and even like manufacturing consent. It's not like people sit in a room and censor people. It's more self-censorship because of this cultural paradigm that they're following. And right now, the cultural paradigm is certain things. Lockdowns work, masks work, but they're all debatable too, of course. Like there's the other side that's debating these things. Lockdowns work, masks work. The vaccine will get us back to normal. We'll never be back to normal because we have to care more about health. Blah blah blah. You know, these different narratives being pushed, but all these people that are into it, I doubt they're all part of some big cabal of people. But there's also these little interests. That's where the conspiracies are real. There's these little people pushing these things that could have been pushed forward. Like, I know James Corbett had this thing about how the World Health Organization like changed their criteria for pandemic or whatever in 2009 or 2010. Why would they do that? I don't know. Influence of people, different types of people. So would that mean that the current crisis with the virus is a conspiracy from the World Health Organization to make this virus the one they did this with? No. It just means things were set in place to have this happen like it did. It's kind of like with 9/11. It's like, wow, now we're going back deep down the rabbit hole. 9/11 happened because it wasn't Dick Cheney sitting there like, we have to have 9/11. I don't think it was necessarily like him saying, we have to have this thing happen, right? It was these different steps in place. And I don't think people are always conscious of these steps. This result happened because it was like this, it was a bridge of incidents in a way. But that doesn't know. It's not a bridge of incidents. It's these certain steps were made that went in a certain direction and yielded a result. Did Brzezinski really believe that 9/11 would happen back in 79 when he was writing these books called, you know, like the Grand Chessboard or whatever? Did he believe that would be the catalyst for his, you know, dominating these geopolitical spheres? I highly doubt it. It just happened to be pushed in that direction. So these things are being pushed in a certain direction by certain people independently, but they're independently of each other. That's my belief. People want to make money off a vaccine. Oh, wow, we have this opportunity, blah, 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 blah. You know, it's not like Bill Gates and Anthony Fauci and fucking, what's that guy, Klaus Schwab are in a room right now. Ha, 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 ha. Why, you know, rubbing their hands together, like saying we're going to dominate everybody. You know, it's not like that. And most things aren't like that. Does that mean that their motives independently of each other should not be questioned? Hell no. Of course they should. But maybe that's the problem with conspiracy theorists in general, is that they don't really go after the right targets a lot of the time. Or in the right way. They say, oh, it's all part of this big thing. No, there's these little things that are reach critical mass, in other words. They reach critical mass. Same with 9/11 and everything like that. Like, well, I have a friend that actually said he believed JFK was part of a conspiracy. But he said there were two different shooters that didn't know that each other were shooting at Kennedy or whatever. And I found that really interesting. That's a really interesting theory. And that could be, it could have been like that. Or things could have been let happen on, I believe in the happen on purpose thing with 9/11, of course. They let it happen. I believe there might have been some figures in the government that let it happen, maybe. Like, they knew it may happen, so they just kind of let go and let it happen, because I think it has something to do with Saudi Arabia. And like, this is one of my theories about 9/11. I hope this video isn't taken down or fucking flagged. The government knew it may happen. They let it happen because they didn't want like more, or they didn't investigate, or they didn't go after these people because they knew that would fuck with the geopolitical things in the region with Saudi Arabia. And then they also had a side benefit of being able to use that as a pretext to go into the Iraq war. So that's a lot more complicated than by saying that like Dick Cheney had like a fucking missile, or not, he fired lasers from the moon onto the towers and they blew up, or it was all video game simulation or something. It's a lot more complicated than that. It's still as bad. It's still just as bad. It's still almost as sinister, right? It's still almost as bad and it's as sinister, but it isn't as cartoonish or simple. That's the problem with a lot of these conspiracy theories. So, in regards to the virus, what do I think is happening? I don't know, right? I don't know what's happening. I don't know what it's all about, what the agendas are about. I think there's different agendas and different people think different things, like with anything. And there's competing players, there's competing agendas, competing companies. I mean, look at all these vaccine manufacturers and shit. It's just, I don't think Klaus Schwab is necessarily sitting there like pulling the levers of the vaccine manufacturing plants that, I would put this vaccine, this is the next vaccine I will manufacture, and it has the nanobots ready. And Bill Gates is on the phone with me right now. Hello, Bill Gates. I don't think that's necessarily the fucking case, okay? It's pretty preposterous. It's kind of a funny image, and he's like, whatever the fucking James Bond, I forgot which James Bond character, he's petting a cat, it's like, fucking, was it not Dr. No, was it Dr. No? I don't know. I own a bunch of James Bond films, by the way, but haven't watched them in years. But yeah, it's just like, it's kind of ridiculous, but that doesn't mean that the intention of questioning these people is bad. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't question these people in power. That doesn't mean we should comply with that, but that having a more nuanced, balanced thought process as far as conspiracy theories and conspiracy theorists is probably the best way to do things. And that includes, from a more spiritual, psychological, sociological point of view, not buying into the fear narrative and trying to manifest things. Honestly, like, I want to start, doing my stuff that I was doing in May, like I said in my last video. And part of that's just going to be imagining as if things are back to normal. As if I could go travel. As if I could go to open mic. As if I can go to a concert or bar without any kind of weird shit. As if I can go out and flirt with women, on the street or at a bar or whatever. As if, imagine as if. And if we get more people with that kind of positive thinking, it's going to, like anything unconsciously, anything you put in, this is the whole premise of magic and all intention and all manifestation stuff. Anything we put on our conscious mind enough will seep into our subconscious and unconscious mind and become, and blossom into, now I sound like Joseph Ally, and blossom into reality. This is like little Joseph Ally parody for today. Please click the like on the video. It does something to the algorithms. I love Joseph Ally, by the way. I just had to make fun. But yeah, that's exactly how manifestation works. And we need to do that. Let's start doing that. Let's fucking imagine things as normal. And that's a more massive consciousness thing. I might do a separate video about this because I think this is really, I've kind of hit upon something with this end of this video. Got to have that massive consciousness awareness of things are normal. And didn't surprise me though today when I read there was a lawsuit from one of the law firms that I contacted against the Dane County mandate about no people outside your household in your household. I smiled even if the comments were derogatory towards people that supported that. I support it. I'm not a Trump supporter, never would have been, never will be. I'm not a Republican. I'm a liberal, somewhat on the left, you know, pretty much. I fucking voted for Bernie Sanders, as you saw the video, probably 3 videos I did about that. I hate Hillary Clinton. I believe in Medicare for all to some extent, you know. I believe in free education, you know. I don't believe in UBI or things like that, and I think businesses should have rights, but I think big corporations shouldn't have as many rights if they get to a certain point. I'm a fucking left winger, but I don't believe in a fucking mandate telling you who to have in your house. Fuck that, you know. But anyways, enough about that. So that's all I gotta say about this. We need to get people on board with normality, not the new normal, normality, getting back to normal and manifest that. And I'm going to try my best myself in my life, my reality, to work on that myself. And you should too. That's all. Peace out.